Have you fallen down the cottage industry rabbit hole yet? Well, if not, buckle up, Alice, and click on over to the description in the show notes and sign up. Then you can get ready for the most fun induction into the cult of all things yarn and fiber. This will include, but not limited to, free yarn, free ebooks, patterns, coupons, and much more. You don't want to miss out.
You are listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts, a podcast featuring two crafty besties who love true crime and a good cup of joe.
Hey, amateur sleuths. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Heidi. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
I hope all our favorite listeners are doing well today. And by favorite, I mean all of you.
Yes, because you're all our favorite.
You're all our favorites.
Yes.
We love you for coming to listen to us chitty chat.
Yeah, for real. Coffee talk.
Coffee talk, yes. So, first things first.
Speaking of coffee.
Yes. I am back to drinking Bones coffee because I have another sampler. And this one is French vanilla, wee wee.
I love French vanilla. It's really funny. My mom does not like French vanilla. Hi, Mom.
I like vanilla things.
She likes vanilla,
and
just
maybe
not French vanilla.
Yeah.
I love French vanilla, but don't love regular vanilla.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
I think it's just a little bit different flavor.
French vanilla is creamier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like this coffee.
Yummer.
I love Bones. I love you, Bones.
We love you, Bones.
Their art is always really cool and stuff up our alleys.
I love it.
So I've got that. It's delicious.
Do recommend. Check the show notes if you want the direct link to buy it, because I'll put it in
BonesCoffee.com.
I'll put the direct link to that specific coffee, though.
Oh, yes.
I get crazy.
Crazy. She gets crazy, y'all.
Just a little.
Before I go into crafty crafts, I got a horror trivia game.
I didn't know there was such a thing. Shut up.
So I thought that I would start every episode with a couple of horror trivia questions.
I bet I'm not going to get anything right.
It's okay, because we're doing it together.
All right, let's do this.
I have picked out a few that you probably do know.
I mean, maybe. A little bit.
Maybe. So, start off easy. What are the 3 simple rules for taking care of a mogwai that must never be broken in the movie Gremlins?
I've got this.
I have a feeling you do.
No water.
Right. You don't get wet.
No feeding after midnight.
Big one. The third one is kind of hard.
Son of a biscuit.
No bright light.
No light. That's what it is. Yeah.
It kills them.
Poor little guys.
Yeah. So,
yikes. I just watched that recently too.
I rewatched it again like a couple months ago.
It's still so
love
good.
That movie. Okay. How did young Jason Voorhees meet his demise at Camp Crystal Lake?
It's been like 500 years since I've seen that. Didn't he drown?
Ding, ding, ding. Got it.
I mean, he came out of the lake. I mean,
it's a pretty iconic scene. Yeah. This one might be hard. Which installment of Halloween did Jamie Lee Curtis and Janet Leigh star in together? You know, Janet Leigh is her mom, I believe, right?
I don't know.
It was the Halloween H2O. The one with,
I saw that one.
Yeah. Doesn't it have shoot, I'm gonna have to look into that.
I need to look up who's Janet Leigh.
I believe it's her mom.
Is it? Now I have to know.
I think so.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because
wow.
Her dad is Tony Curtis.
I never put it together when I saw the movie, apparently.
Yeah. Her dad was Tony Curtis, correct?
She looks so much like her mama.
Yeah.
So
beautiful ladies.
Pretty.
All right. I got one last one for you.
Hold up. You got to see this one.
Yeah.
Her mom. Wow.
Oh, I know. She was beautiful.
Damn.
Gorgeous.
All right.
Bela Lugosi. You know Bela Lugosi? What was his best known portrayal of a Universal monster?
Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't know the answer to that, you shouldn't be listening if you don't know that answer. Or, I mean, maybe you're not into horror movies. Maybe you just like true crime. But
maybe you just like true crime. That could be two separate things. But we love Halloween.
Everybody knows who that is.
Yeah.
So
gots to.
I'm surprised I knew any answers. So cool.
I'm doing a lot of sharing today.
That's okay.
So my art today is special to me and my family because I come from cops. And so I did a thin blue line painting.
Ooh, that's cool. I like.
It was very difficult to do the little tiny stars.
Yeah, I bet.
But I enjoyed doing this and it's special to me.
Yes.
And my grandfather is a retired captain and he did a lot of amazing things in his life as a cop. And recently...
And he was a damn good cop.
Yes.
So
he was
I just want to put that in there. He was a good cop.
His integrity was always intact and he always did the right thing. And his solvability rate to date now, I can't talk too much about it, but it's 100% from his homicide days. So that's a little tidbit.
That's incredible because there aren't too many cops that can say that.
Yeah, for a long time he had one case that was never solved and recently it's been solved. So he can now say he has 100% solvability rate. But my dad is here visiting and he brought me my grandfather's old shooting vest that he wore with all of his competitions. Because my grandfather is an amazing marksman and master in his own right. And so this was his shooting vest, is on his pistol team. And it has all these really, really neat pins.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
And it's embroidered with his name.
That is adorable.
And also another interesting fact is that Grossmont College pistol team. Okay, I graduated from Grossmont College.
That is hysterical.
So Now, there is an interesting pin on here, and I'm going to have to ask him about it. But it is hangman's noose.
Yikes.
So I'm not sure what that one was about, but all of these are from his shooting competitions.
Maybe they played the game Hangman in like some shooting way.
In some way, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They had to like shoot the letter that they wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if my grandfather listens, but he has always been my mentor for my career. And if I can be quarter of the cop he was, then I think I'm doing a pretty good job because he was stellar.
Yeah.
So
you damn straight.
Yes. Yes, yes. So that's my sharing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Should we talk about?
I just like that his name is stitched on the vest. Yeah, that's adorable.
It's very cute.
I kind of want to know who stitched it on.
Probably his secretary, or someone at the maybe probably at the school, because he was a instructor for years and years, along with the tournament shooting team and as a cop. I think this vest was from '69, my dad said.
Nice.
And at that time, I believe he was in Homicide.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
I hope to be like him one day.
I think you already are. But
yeah. Well,
just saying.
It's a tough career, guys. It's hard.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
This day and age, you really have to dig deep. I don't know. It's hard.
Well, I think it's extra hard because you are also just a single mom and you have a lot on your plate. I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yep. So, since we're going back in history, I have a historical case.
Hell yes! Double historical whammy.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
So, trigger warnings, adultery, and murder.
Ooh.
With multiple weapons.
All right.
It's a whodunit of whodunits.
Oh, murder mystery.
So, who killed the Reverend and the choir singer and why?
Oh.
This was a true media frenzy. And picture it. New Brunswick, New Jersey, 1922.
Ooh, fancy.
It's not Sicily, but it's New Jersey.
Jersey.
Now,
I mean, the style back then.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. It's almost 100 years ago, if you can believe that.
I mean,
we're in 22.
I know.
2022.
I know.
That's
Yikes.
Incredible.
Yikes.
Anyways, star-crossed lovers said to have been gunned down and stabbed on Lover's Lane.
Ooh.
So what happened? What led to the event and why? What happened afterwards?
Yikes. It always freaks me out when it's two people. Like lovers get killed, like it's very like Son of Sam. Yee! Anyway.
Right. It's a tale as old as time. A married man and a married woman find each other and fall in love, even though they're married to a man and a woman separately.
I mean, I feel like marriages back then, still a lot of them were
not for love.
Not for love.
They were more for family intertwining.
Yep.
Yeah. So My thoughts on it though are, I don't understand why people cheat in a relationship. I just think for me, if you're feeling like your partner is not the right person for you, then find another way to get out of the relationship or try and work on it.
Yeah.
There's far too many people are being disloyal, and
I think it's easier now for sure, but back then it wasn't that easy. So
yeah, that's just
and
me.
I'm not saying it's okay by any means, but
no, circumstances happen.
Yeah.
We get that, but I think, it's before you go into cheating or having an arranged relationship outside of your marriage, you should probably look into your marriage first.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And fix it or get out.
Yeah.
But anyways, unfortunately, they did the deed and they suffered the consequences, I guess.
Yikes.
So whatever led them to this affair, it ultimately was the price they paid for their death.
Yeah.
So who were the victims? Edward Wheeler Hall was raised in Brooklyn, New York, and he received his theological degree in the fast, loud city of Manhattan.
Ooh.
He was married to a woman named Frances Noel Stevens since 1911. So 1911 to 1922, 11 years. They didn't say anything about having children.
Right.
Just that after receiving his degree, he and his wife moved to New Brunswick in New Jersey, and he served as a reverend at St. John the Evangelist Episcopal Church. Say that 5 times fast.
Seriously. Holy cow.
That's a long title for a church.
Yeah.
But at the time of his death, he was 41 years old. Eleanor Reinhardt Mills was married to James Mills, and James was the acting sexton, which is the person who looks after a church and churchyard, formerly a gravedigger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
They decided to go from gravedigger to sexton.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I would rather be called a gravedigger.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's a way cooler title.
I actually I know somebody whose husband does that.
I mean,
they live like on the edge of the cemetery.
Kind of a back-breaking job. You gotta use the machines and then you gotta get in there with your, it's a lot of work. And he was the sexton at St. John Church, and he was also a full-time janitor at the Lord Sterling Elementary School. So I'm guessing he did that during the day while school was in session, and then he'd probably go to the church and dig graves and clean up the church. And
right.
So I'm thinking that they found their time during the day while he was doing janitor work at the elementary school.
Right.
Because she sang in the choir at the church. So, but Eleanor and James had 2 children. And I believe all the time spent at the church with the Reverend is what brought the 2 lovers together. I doubt his wife was hanging around the church helping him.
Right.
It didn't sound like she was very involved. She just had her own things going on.
Right.
Mrs. Mills, Eleanor, was 34 years old at the time of her death. So he was 41, she was 34. Here comes the sad part.
Okay.
On September 16th, 1922, the 2 lovers' bodies were found in a field. Both bodies were positioned on their backs, and both were shot in the head with a .32 caliber pistol. Mr. Hall was shot once, and Mrs. Mills was shot 3 times.
Oh,
seems like there was a little more.
Jeez.
Mr. Hall's bullet entered his head over his right ear and then exited through the back of his neck. So it went down his ear, out his neck.
Interesting.
So like,
yeah,
down and back.
Right.
Something he would not have done to himself.
No, that's a real awkward position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Mills was shot under the right eye, over the right temple, and over the right ear. Almost as if there were 3 people.
They wanted to make sure.
They shot her good.
Shit.
But that's not it. That was not the only injuries to Mrs. Mills. She also had her throat severed by a sharp object, probably a knife. And there were maggots already. Sorry, that's gross.
Well,
there were maggots already on the wound.
I call those part of the cleanup crew. So you're good.
So this part of the evidence gave them a timeline of 24 hours.
Yeah.
From death to discovery.
Okay.
So they had been out there 24 hours. So the day before.
Right.
Their bodies had clearly been positioned side by side after death and their feet pointing toward an apple tree. Mr. Hall had a hat covering his face.
Mm-hmm.
And a calling card, what they used to call a business card, was at his feet.
Interesting.
It was placed at his feet. The other thing that investigators found odd was all the torn up love letters that they had written each other.
Shit.
Were torn up and strewn about between the bodies.
Oh my God.
So armed with all of this, seems like a scorned lover.
Definitely a scorned lover. Or spouse.
Well,
yeah. Yikes.
Yeah. Mrs. Mills had been wearing a blue dress with red polka dots, black stockings, and brown shoes. I didn't know that was.
I mean, you wore what you had.
Acceptable. Yeah.
Nobody had other colored shoes. I swear, back then, like
they always just had brown.
Black.
No, these were brown.
They were brown. Interesting.
Yeah, she had black stockings and brown shoes
with a blue and red dress.
With a blue red polka dot.
I mean, it sounds like she was wildin'. Damn.
She also had a blue velvet hat lying on the ground next to her body and a brown scarf wrapped around her throat.
See, she tied it all together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. It's working for me.
But the scarf was tied around her throat.
After it was cut.
Yeah.
All right.
She had a tiny cut on her lip and an arm bruise, and her left hand had been positioned to touch Mr. Hall's right thigh. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Her tongue had also been cut out, which had only been revealed after her autopsy 4 years later.
Okay. After her autopsy. Very interesting. And 4 years later. What the hell?
Yeah.
Why did it take so long?
I will.
Okay, you'll get into it.
Get into it, yeah.
All right.
Further examination of Mr. Hall showed that the hat covering his face had been covering his head wound from the gunshot.
Okay.
So it was concealing the gunshot. It seemed like whoever placed their bodies was trying to cover the fact that they had wounds, but anyone that finds the bodies is going to see that they're got wounds.
Right.
So I don't know why, but I don't know the significance of
maybe
covering
it was
everything.
More of a malice thing where like they were trying to like create more shock and awe for whoever found them.
Could be.
So
yeah. They also found that Mr. Hall's right arm was positioned to touch Miss Mills' neck. So
that's really weird. All of this is super strange.
Right? The whole placement of everything and the clues left behind is just very odd. Like, what were they trying to show? Clearly, they were trying to show that they were cheating lovers.
Yeah,
But.
Mm-hmm. And we don't know what his wife did for work. If she did anything. I mean, a lot of women I don't think really worked back then.
Yeah, I talk about it
okay.
later. But she was a Reverend wife. So,
yeah,
you know, she's part of the community, and probably they didn't say they had kids, but if they did, they probably were part of the school and
right.
But
maybe they just kept their names out of the
might have just been part of the community and church.
Right.
There was also small bruise on the tip of Mr. Mills' ear and abrasions found on his fingers, and they found an injury to his knee. Almost probably like he
was
put him on
down.
the ground. Yeah. And they found that he had money in his pockets, but his watch was missing. So a half-assed attempt at saying it was a robbery. But there was money in.
My dogs are going insane. Sorry.
I know. I hear them. It's okay.
Little bastards.
So I don't know if it was a half-assed attempt at pretending it was a robbery.
Yeah.
But they didn't take all the valuables. They just took his watch.
Wonder, because in my head, it was her husband who did it. For some reason, I instantly go there. I don't know. I think because he was probably really pissed off at her and took out the brunt of it on her. That's how I'm feeling.
Right. But he was never brought up as a suspect.
Okay, that's fucking weird to me.
Yeah, he's not the center.
Interesting.
They really don't talk about him at all.
He would have been my first suspect.
You would think. Unfortunately, in 1922, authorities had a hard time preserving the crime scene. Community members and folks from out of town came through the crime scene and took souvenirs, which severely compromised any physical evidence at the scene.
Okay.
So they just have the initial report of what they saw, how the bodies were, and I don't know what they did, but like
back then they didn't
the bodies unattended.
Yeah, they didn't keep journalists or anybody from going in either. A lot of times back in those days, they would just like, yeah, come on in.
So people have pieces of the love letters, items off the bodies. So moving forward, the suspects in the double homicide were Mr. Hall's wife, Frances Noel Stevens, and her two brothers, Henry Stevens and William Stevens, and a cousin, Henry Carpenter.
Okay. I mean, she would have been the other suspect in my head anyway, but like, if she had found out, or if her brothers had seen him with another woman, like, ooh. Yeah.
Bad news to the family.
Yeah. Big revenge. And they wanted to put it on display that he was a despicable human being who was a disgrace to the church, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the calling card at his feet and
gnarly.
I just wish that we could really know what was going on in the murderers' brains.
Yeah.
Like why they did what they did and how they did it, and just all the evidence left behind.
Also just want to say real quick, murder is never the answer, people. Never. Okay. Yeah.
The original 1922 investigation held no indictments because of media-fueled comments and interviews made by a man associated with one of Mrs. Hall's housekeepers. So that's why there's a 4-year gap.
Gotcha.
Because they didn't further their investigation and they didn't proceed in a trial. So there was no burden of proof for the prosecutors,
right,
to get this indictment and arrest. But Governor Harry Moore ordered a second investigation and trial in 1926.
Okay.
I don't know what prompted him to do that, but that's the information I got, is that he moved forward 4 years later wanting this new investigation. The cousin Henry, however, never ended up being tried for the murder. They didn't even put him as a defendant. I don't know why, but I guess
nothing interesting.
Evidence proved he had nothing to do with it. I don't know. The trial began November 3rd, 1926, and lasted about 30 days. It was one of the largest national media frenzy trials of that century.
Okay.
Except for the Lindbergh baby kidnapping,
which
that
I
was the same time.
Sort of talked about in our first episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that one became more of a media frenzy, but this was also a big to-do at that time.
Yeah. Hold, please.
Sorry.
Nice.
Muting
Mute
my
button
cough.
is awesome.
Apparently the accused, however, had a high social status, and they came from very wealthy families.
Oh.
So they could get the best defense attorney.
Right.
Possible. The prosecution, and that's why I think she didn't work, because her husband was a reverend, but they also came from money, so, and had high social status.
Right.
She didn't need to do anything. Just show up and look pretty.
I mean, that would be great.
Although they only show her as like an older woman, so I don't know if she was pretty or not.
I mean, that would be the life. If we just had to show up and look cool.
Yeah. I don't know what you'd get out of it.
Podcast all day long.
Yeah, I mean,
write books, travel the world, doing detective shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are our pipe dreams.
Yeah.
If anyone out there wants to sponsor us, we can make it true.
I'm still banking on my husband hitting the lottery.
One day.
Someday.
The prosecution's key witness was a woman named Jane Gibson. She was a pig farmer.
Oh, uh-oh.
Whose farm is where the bodies were discovered.
They were banking on those pigs eating the bodies.
Possibly.
Probably.
Maybe we shouldn't tell our audience. Maybe they already know. But
they know. If they're listening, they already know this.
Pigs eat everything. Literally. Even bones. They can
they'll eat
digest
teeth,
bones.
but they don't really process teeth. But they eat them.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Damn. I just thought of
be wary of pig farmers.
There's a case I'm going to cover one of these days.
There you go.
Yeah.
Miss Gibson and her son William lived in an old barn that had been converted to a house on the farm. She got a media nickname as the Pig Woman, which, quite frankly, is one of the worst nicknames for anyone.
For real.
That would be awful. So
that's a
throughout history,
rude nickname.
This poor woman throughout history, forever and ever, is dubbed the Pig Woman. It was in the news articles. Pig woman testifies in double homicide.
Oh, the poor lady.
Right.
I mean, I hope she had really good pigs.
Probably. She said that she originally heard her dogs barking at 9 p.m. on the night of the murder. So she had gone outside of her house and she saw a man standing in the field.
Shit.
So she says that she rode her mule to approach the man. And as she got closer, she saw there were 4 people standing near the apple tree.
4. Alrighty then.
She heard gunshots and one of the figures fell to the ground, probably dead.
Yeah.
She also testified that she heard a woman screaming, "Don't," 3 times. After that, she turned in the opposite direction, headed back to her house, because who wants to go riding into that? You're going to be murdered.
Yeah.
Especially a woman in the 1800s. You're
on a mule.
Get dead. Yeah, doesn't bode well. But as she was riding back to her house, she heard more gunshots, and she turned around and saw a second person fall to the ground, probably dead.
Okay.
She also testified that she heard a woman say the name Henry.
Okay.
Which, if you recall, there are 2 Henrys. One that never was tried for the murder, which was a cousin, and the other one who was a brother of the scorned wife.
Definitely banking on it being the brother, because brothers, and especially back then, were extremely protective of their sisters.
So unfortunately, the defense counsel tried to make Miss Gibson out to be crazy and uneducated in an attempt to ruin her witness testimony and credibility.
Oh boy.
What didn't help Miss Gibson's case is that every time she would talk about what she saw and heard, her story would change.
Oh no.
So when she told the police, it was one story. Then she told the media, it was another story. When she went to trial, it was another story.
Can't be changing your story.
So she had a lot of trouble at trial. She also became ill during the trial. And there is a news article with a picture of her. They rolled her on her bed, her hospital gurney, into the courthouse to give her testimony.
Damn.
Yeah. Mr. Hall's wife and her 2 brothers were, in my eyes, definitely the ones that had the motive and carried out the murder. But sadly, there was not enough evidence to convict them.
Yeah. They didn't want to convict them.
No, they were money people. They were power.
Yep. And this, well, back then.
And there's a woman who was,
her
husband cheated on her.
And yes, morals go by the wayside when money is involved.
Number one. So one thing my grandfather always told me in any investigation is follow the money.
Always follow the money. And yes, back then there was a lot of fucking shady business going on with, I mean, it still happens today, but like back then it was fucking rampant.
Yeah.
I mean, the corruption was like insane. I mean, same time period as my first case, Ma Barker. There was a lot of corruption in that whole case too.
So much.
In the same kind of areas as well. Wow.
Yeah. So over the last 100 years, several people have written theories and stories about what they thought had happened. A man named William Kunstler, an attorney and liberal activist, published a book in 1964 titled The Minister and the Choir Singer. He then re-released it with added editorial material in 1980 and called it the Hall Mills murders. So he wrote 2 books on the same thing, just revamped it and put in some new material. He theorized that the Ku Klux Klan had been responsible for the couple's demise based on the facts that the Klan was a very violent organization and active in New Jersey in the 1920s. But he did acknowledge that the Klan had not previously killed anyone in the state, and his reasons for thinking the group would target this particular couple was speculative. So I think he was just spitballing.
He was just trying to fucking make excuses for the real killer.
Because why is the Klan, I mean, they're historically a racist
fuck yeah
cult group. So why would they target white people?
It doesn't make any sense at all. None of it makes sense.
So I'd be interested to read these stories just to see how he comes about this, but I don't think it holds any water.
Unless they wronged the Klan in some way, but I still, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. That one's done. That man is gone.
Okay. Thank God, because
not literally. I don't know if
he's probably gone.
But a different person, Gerald Tomlinson, wrote a book called "Fatal Tryst: Who Killed the Minister and the Choir Singer."
Okay. And
this book is the most detailed exploration of the case written to date, and concludes that the Stevens siblings were to blame. So the brothers.
Right.
He added also that there really was no evidence to show that anyone else could do the crimes.
Right. Well, and thinking about even today, when a woman's boyfriend or whatever, and I'm speaking from a cis thing,
mm-hmm.
if he cheats, it's so crazy to me because they always blame the other woman.
Yeah.
And I'm blame him.
The dude's fault.
He's the problem here.
Yeah.
She didn't make him fucking sleep with her.
No.
She may not have even known you existed.
Right.
Realistically. And so, I mean, it could make sense. The extra damage that they did to the woman. I mean,
yeah.
Vengeance.
Vengeance. William Brahms also wrote books and added additional images and more detailed account of the local perspective and effect on the once rural community of the township. He's a historian as well, and I believe he has tours in the area, historical tours, and talks about the cold case and takes you on a tour of
that sounds interesting,
of the sites.
Yeah.
Like the murder site and everything.
I mean, that's something I would be into.
Tree.
Yeah.
And the house that the Reverend and his wife lived in, that is now a historical building.
Nice.
Yeah. In 2012, Rick Gary released a graphic novel based on the case titled Lover's Lane, The Hall Mills Mystery. And then Sarah Churchwell, she speculates that parts of the ending of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald were based on the Hall Mills case.
Oh.
Based on her forensic research for clues, she says that the 2 victims in the Hall Mills murder case inspired the characters who were murdered in The Great Gatsby.
Damn.
She wrote all of this in her book called Careless People, Murder, Mayhem, and the Invention of the Great Gatsby, she wrote it in 2013.
Fun fact, I could never get through The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Couldn't even get into the beginning. Just went, eh.
Yeah, it's no Count of Monte Cristo. I'll tell you that.
Not my jam.
Yeah.
Whatevs.
So, unfortunately, 100 years later, these two victims will never truly have a closed case.
Damn.
And I think in the back of our heads, we all know what happened. And maybe that's the true crime lovers in us. But you can imagine a scorned wife having brothers who would do anything for her, probably carry out a heinous murder to avenge her sister's failed marriage.
Also, was she the little sister?
I don't know.
The next question I would have.
I think I would need to look at their timelines.
You need to know.
I don't remember
older brothers.
If they were older or younger.
Because don't fuck with my little sister. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
I would be curious to know if they could do any DNA from any evidence that they may have collected.
Right.
And cross-reference it to see for sure who done it.
That would be cool. There's been a lot of stuff being solved. I just was reading, I think I posted it on our podcast Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yesterday that there was remains found like in 40 years ago in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally, or no, a woman went missing. The remains were not found until 2009.
Oh.
And all that was found was like the skull cap, literally one piece of bone. That was it. And they tried for years, over and over again, to test the DNA, to get a DNA extraction from it, but they never could do it until last year.
Ooh.
They finally, because of all of the new science that has come out, they got a good DNA and matched it to a family whose mother had gone missing back in the 80s from like her cabin in the woods.
Wow.
Just
that's
disappeared.
Awesome.
Yeah. So like at least they have closure. But
no, and that's the biggest thing.
That would be
I want
super
victims
cool
to have closure.
I think it would be cool if they could come up with some kind of DNA from that case.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean
maybe there wasn't any to be
there's
had.
Probably some grandkids or great grandkids by now.
I'm sure, yeah.
That probably, would like to know what happened.
Yeah.
They don't really say much about her children, except one was like the son was in his 80s when he passed, like died in 92 or something. Wow.
So they probably had like possibly great grandkids.
Yeah.
At that point.
And then the daughter, I think she only lived like 50 years or 40 years or something, but
yeah,
they're all buried. The husband, the two kids, and Eleanor are all buried at the same plot, like the same. And I believe it's in that township at the graveyard, probably the one he used to be the grave digger at.
Maybe a vacation is on our hands. Someday we'll have to go find it and be like,
definitely
trip out.
Right? I think it'd be great if we could take some of these cases and do a travel.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Travel vlog.
That'd be
vlog,
fun.
Right? A vlog.
Right? Is that what it's called?
A video vlog.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a blog. We're not.
Do you have any historical like cemeteries nearby you?
Oh, I do.
Because we've got one right here at like the oldest church in our area, actually.
We have one that is used as a filming site.
You've seen the church here.
Yeah.
It's real. That place, that's the first church from the white settlers here. Pretty crazy. Yeah, it's old.
Yeah.
I've never been inside because I don't do that. I don't. No. Nope. Takes a very specific thing to get me to go inside a church. Sorry, guys. They scare me.
It's okay.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's all I got.
Gnarly.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yes, that was awesome.
I enjoyed learning about it.
Yeah. Incredibly cool. So, anything else we need to say? Check out the merch, check out whatever. Join Patreon if you want. Click the description in the notes. There's a description under where you're listening.
We've got tons of art for sale too.
If
you just gotta hit up Heidi.
Yeah, just send me an email or DM me on the Instagram or something. That all works.
And shout out to the librarians I met this week who are following us now.
Librarians rock. Mm-hmm. Hi, librarians. You guys are cool.
I hope that they are listening.
That'd be awesome. Anyway, ta-ta
for now.
Thanks for listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts. If you love our podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. This helps us more than you know. If you really love us and want to support us, go to our website at www.crimecoffeeandcrafts.com. From there, you can join our Patreon, shop our merch, and find us on social media.